Yo, what's up, people? Jan Barseagle here. Today, I'm gonna piss some of the calisthenics athletes off because those planches that you for giving you muscles and those front levers that you for giving you muscles are not as good as you thought. So I'll rank the most famous skills and movements in calisthenics from S tier, which are gonna be like the best ones, the top movements, to tier D, which are gonna be the worst ones for muscle growth. So today we're speaking specifically about muscle growth. Stay focused because if you don't, you're gonna wake up skinny and weak tomorrow. So you don't want that, yeah? Watch the video and you'll understand how the system works. Let's start with the main one, just to put everybody in place, just so you understand how things work straight away in calisthenics. We're gonna be ranking based on how good the exercise is or the skill is for muscle hypertrophy and how much potential does it have for progressing the overload and improving the intensity in the exercise. So the S tier, of course, it's insane for muscle mass, the top of the top that you can ever find. A tier, it's pretty good, but it has some limits. B tier, it's pretty decent for hypertrophy. C tier, kind of, most of the skills, so you will see which ones are falling into that kind of part. D tier are full trash. Like, those type of exercise or skills are mostly done because they look good, not because they're good for muscle growth. Okay, so we're getting started. Let's go through the stuff that's gonna maybe ruin some people's mood. The first one, well, planche push-ups. Honestly, without me exaggerating, I would put it into B. And it's a between C and B type of a thing. It takes very long to get there. It takes a long time. For most people, if you have no basics, it will take you around 1.5 years, 2 years of training. But for muscle growth, it's not too good. And yes, you see some people who have very good muscles and they can planche, but most of these athletes did not gain their muscles from planche. And they usually have a body that they could get with a solid exercise within 1 year. But those athletes train planche for 5-6 years. And remember, you don't do this skill for muscle growth. You'll do it because it looks good. And actually, I thought about it. I'm gonna put it to C. It deserves a C, unfortunately. Next one. Squats. Yes, it's part of the gym also, as much as it is of calisthenics. Let's put squats as tier A, because it's of course one of the best movements for legs that is out there. It's not an S, yeah? It's because it's not so stable. So it's a very intense on the joints and everything type of a movement. Oh, front lever. Everybody loves this. Everybody loves this one. Man, as much as I love it, because we're talking about the static front lever, I'm gonna put it to D. It's static. You need muscle contraction and you need failure. You understand? To gain muscles. Here is just statics. You understand? It's static. So, will you gain some muscles? Yes. Is it one of the worst movements for growing muscles? Yes. You don't do this because it grows muscles. As someone who trains it right now, I don't do them for muscle growth. I do them because it looks good and I want to achieve such skill. You understand? So that's why I'm doing it. And yeah, man, unfortunately, it deserves around this spot. C or D, unfortunately. Now hack squats. Let's get to hack squats. Let's get the legs type of stuff out the way quickly, because I know all of you love doing leg days. S tier, definitely. Very stable movement, targets most of the legs that you need. Yeah, the quads are fully engaged, everything is good. So it's stable. So it's just like squats, but more stable. More stability means less chance of injury and faster recovery. So it's better than squats, so it's a good one. This is kind of a gym movement, so I'm just showing you an example of what would be at the top. Now back lever, without talking too much. We're just putting that here. Without talking, I'm not gonna talk. There's nothing to say here. Next one is weighted pull-ups. Of course, it's A tier or even S tier. It's between that, yeah? Because listen, scientifically, there's some movements for back that target the back better than weighted pull-ups do, because it's not such unstable movement. But one thing that will probably make me want to put this to S tier, one thing, is that in most of the gym movements that people practice, you can never get too far. There's a limit. Most machines for the back, like lat pull down and other machines, I can max out already. So there's a limit. You understand? So what happens when you progress the overload to the point where you can no longer get stronger. It's not too good, you know. It's, of course, some people can say, bro, make the technique harder or do a higher rep range. It's not a good idea. You want to be able to progress the overloading weights also. So that's one massive advantage in weighted pull-ups. You can never hit a limit. You know, you can keep adding weight forever between your legs. So, you know, the bigger the ball sack, the bigger your back and biceps. So you're gonna get pretty far with this one. Just because of this, because of the progressive overload thing, I'll put this to S. The progressive overload is very, very important. You know, it's between A and S, but because it's such progressive type of overload. Front lever pull-ups. Now, this is a bit of a different story now. A good different story. This one deserves a B because it's intense and it looks like barbell rows a little bit. So this one is not bad. It's not bad. And the good thing about it is that it's hard to get to like 10 reps or more, which means, you know, the best rep range for muscle growth is like 6 to 15. Yeah, of course, if you do more, you'll still gain muscles, but it becomes less effective because it's more for endurance. And the reason 6 or less is not too good because for muscle growth, you want to do failure. And failure is pretty dangerous at low rep range. That's the biggest reason why front lever is pretty good because you can't do too many reps even if you train it for a long time, so you'll always stay at that rep range that is actually intense for the body. So that's why it deserves a B. There's a good amount of contraction, but again, listen, this video is made to just show you the real truth about skills. These type of skills, you need to be embarrassed if you do them for muscle growth. Okay, that's not the goal. The goal is to make something or do something or learn something that looks very good. So it looks very good. Like what I'm showing you here, man, it's 10 out of 10. Okay, these skills, planche, push-ups, front lever pull-ups, front lever hold, back lever, they look very good. So that's why you train them. Human flag. Human flag. Let me just quickly put it here. No need for explanation. It's again mostly static. And with static, you don't get too far in terms of muscle growth. You need contraction and you need failure. It's hard to combine these two because for skills, one of the best ways to gain muscles, or in general, one of the best ways to gain muscles, is by going until failure in the sets. And in most skills, going until failure is not too good of an idea. That's why you cannot really go too far because the progressive overload is an issue. Human flag deserves D, unfortunately. Weighted dips. Man, same thing like weighted pull-ups, same thing, and it's such top movement. Even the top bodybuilders in the world, they love this movement. It's very good. I mean, they mostly do bodyweight dips because of the progressive overload. S tier. Of course, it goes to the number one. It's weighted dips, man. You know, you can keep progressing forever. There's no limit. You can add forever. You can add weights forever. That's a great thing because on a lot of gym machines, you can reach a limit. So that's a disadvantage. Even let's say an incline chest press, which is let's say the best movement for chest and shoulders to exist out there. It might not be actually as good as weighted dips if you look at the progressive overload part. For the hypertrophy and everything, it's good until you get too strong. And now on chest press, what are you gonna do? You can use a gym pin, which puts more weight than the machine allows, but there's a big chance you'll break the machine. That's why weighted dips, you know, can dominate. And if you ask some smart fitness influencers who are science-based, they would not put this list that way because they would not take the fact that you can get too strong in these things and stop adding weight. Like with chest press, you can get to the point easily where you cannot add more weight. So what are you gonna do then? Of course, you can move to bench press, but it's a suspicious one. So that's why weighted dips, weighted pull-ups, they go to the top. Definitely, definitely. Normal handstand hold. Static movement, nothing special. Of course, it goes to tier D. It will not give you muscles. Just handstand hold. Everything is pretty simple and obvious. You can do a handstand for minutes. Even when you can do 10 or 15 push-ups, people can hold a handstand for at least 30 seconds to 1 minute with a wall, which means you've got enough strength and it's easy. So yeah, definitely. One arm pull-ups. This is an interesting one. If you do it with good technique and smooth, nice technique, which most people don't because it's a hard movement, B or A. It's a tough one because it's better than front lever, but it's not as good as squats. Man, it's a tough one. I'll put it here. I will not exaggerate and I'll put it here. Okay, one arm pull-ups, B tier because it's a good movement, and again, it's very hard to do more than 15 reps. Only a very few people, you can count them on 2 hands, who can do more than 15 reps. Maybe a bit more, but it's very tough. Keep that rep range, that is very good for muscle growth. And a bit of close to failure, so a method close to failure is actually good for one arm pull-ups. As for example, on handstand push-ups, it's not good to do a method that is close to failure or until failure, because for handstand, it's a very balanced type of skill. So you need to do more sets, less reps. But one-arm pull-ups, the technique part is not that hard to learn. Like you learn it once, you understand it, and then you remember it all your life. That's why, for example, weighted pull-ups, you can do them every 5 to 7 days. You can do an intense workout, 5-7 days of rest, you do another workout. Because you don't need to practice the technique too often because it's an easy movement to understand in terms of technique. You understand? So that's one key point you need to keep in mind. So one-arm pull-ups, B tier, for sure. Well deserved. Push-ups. You know what? With push-ups, we're gonna put it on A. It's A because, listen, push-ups you can treat it as bench press. But the only problem with push-ups, and the reason why bench press or a nice chest press machine would be S tier, is because on bench press and a chest press machine, it's easy to progress the overload. With push-ups, unfortunately, the progressive overload part, it's a tough one. It's tough to add weight when you get to the point of doing 40-60 kilos weighted push-ups. It's tough to put them on your back. It's very uncomfortable. You cannot go too far. Of course, if you still go until failure, but then it's easy to reach a point where you do 60 kilo weighted push-ups for 30 reps or more. Like that's pretty easy to achieve for everybody. So I might actually change my mind and put it on this one, tier B, push-ups. Again, just because of the progressive overload part. It's a bit of an issue. It becomes an issue. So that's why I will put it there. Handstand push-ups. Not as good as you guys thought because it requires a lot of balance. And again, for maybe muscles, if you do just talk about hypertrophy, it could be a B tier. I'll put it C because of the progressive overload and because of the best ways of getting better at handstand push-ups require you to do low volume, more sets. And this is not good for muscle growth. For muscle growth, the best way to get muscles is failure. 2-3 sets and failure. If you do failure on handstand push-ups, the balance will not get trained enough. You need balance for handstand push-ups. So here, it's not a good one. I'll put it to tier C. Australian pull-ups. It does not deserve an A. B. Yeah, Australian pull-ups, I'll put it to B because again, progressing the overload is a big issue. It could be A if you could easily add weight like on a rowing machine. If you compare a rowing machine at the gym with this, a rowing machine could be between A and S level. This one B because of the progressive overload. You can get after a couple of months or 1 year of training, you can get to the point where you wear a vest or something and you add 20 or 40 kilos already and it's gonna be a tough one. You need to be able to add more weight. And this on Australian pull-ups, it's a good option, but for adding weight, it's a problem. At the beginning, you'll add weight, you'll get to a good level, but then it becomes pretty tough. Planche hold. We're talking about a hold, so static hold. D, because it's statics. You know, statics is built for tendons. It's not for muscle growth because it's statics. You just hold the position. And again, some athletes can say, bro, look at the gymnasts who have good bodies and they've been doing planches and stuff. Well, those gymnasts, yeah, they train 4 to 6 hours every day, almost 6 to 7 days a week. Okay, so they're crazy and they're pretty short and light and you know they gain a bit of muscles and they look good already. So again, to get a body of a gymnast that they got in 10-15 years of training, you can go 1-2 years to the gym and get most of their body. Not all of their body. You might use an example of one of the most huge, you know, gymnasts and tell me, bro, you can't achieve them in 1-2 years. Well, you know, there's some genetic freaks also. And maybe the athlete or that gymnast we're talking about, they're doing weighted pull-ups, weighted dips also. They do some basics also. All they do is not statics, you understand? So that's the interesting part. And the last one, of course, a muscle up. A muscle up, unfortunately, I know I'm good at it. I know I've done it for 7 years. I've achieved a good level in this. But we will have to put it. As much as I like it, D. Yes, not even a C. Because yes, it's a full body. Yes, you use all your muscles. The contraction is very bad. Very bad. And with time, the contraction never gets better. Progressive overload, well, you can add weight. If you would add weight to it, it would make it like a B tier if you add weight, because then you need more contraction. So usually you pull and here you stop pulling. Understand? You do push and pull at the same time. It's very bad contraction. Everything is bad. So again, if you do it weighted with a good amount of weights, then it becomes to B tier. But we need to keep it to tier D. And by the way, most of these things would change, yeah, the tier of every movement, if one thing would change, the technique. Depends on technique. If technique is more smooth, you control the negative a bit more, then they become one tier closer to the better one, but we take them in the technique that they're usually done. Okay, so yeah, this is the tier when it comes to the muscle up also. So yeah guys, as you can see here, the hack squats, of course it's a gym movement, so let's ignore that one. But it's in the S tier. Weighted pull-ups, obviously the movement where I can do 77.5 kilograms for 7 reps. So I achieved a good level in this movement. I did 60 kilos for 11 reps on weighted pull-ups also, so you know, I've achieved some good results. On weighted dips, it's also tier 1. I achieved 100 kilos for 10 reps in weighted dips. It's a very good movement, not because I achieved good muscles with it, but because I know I've got the knowledge. So weighted dips are pretty good. You know, many bodybuilders suggest them, many bodybuilders do it. It's great for shoulders, triceps, chest. It's a very good movement. The only thing that it doesn't target is the upper chest. So yeah. That's the tier list. When it comes to the worst ones, of course, they're the static movements, because in statics, you don't really do any contraction. There's no contraction of the muscle, and contraction of the muscle is a key point to gaining muscles. And also, most of these skills, the best methods to improving at these skills does not require you to do failure. And failure is very important for muscle growth. So if you do failure for these skills, you're not going to progress too good. Of course, for planche, there's some methods that require failure. That's why I put it in the C for the planche push-ups. But yeah, still, the static movements will always be one of the worst ways to gain muscles. Or you do not do skills in calisthenics because you want to build muscles. You do the skills because they look good and you want to control your body weight to the max and be strong. You do weighted calisthenics because you want muscles and you want to be strong at weighted calisthenics because you love the sport and you respect the sport. So keep this in mind, okay? Just because you see an athlete who does skills, who looks good, it does not mean it's the best way to do it, okay? That's why you even combine weighted calisthenics with skills. By the way, I shared two-set method, which is a very good method that many of my students get crazy results. Like I've got hundreds of results of people from the two-set method, and I'm one of them, yeah? So again, it works for sure, and yeah, I'll leave the link to this two-set method at the end. I literally shared how to progress the overload. This method will take you for years of progress, man. It's crazy. So why not just watch the video, implement it, progress? And if you're not progressing, it's because you're making mistakes, where I also speak in a different video about this. So yeah, look through my YouTube a little bit and you'll find some good knowledge in there, yeah? So yeah, that's the rating for today. You know, of course, maybe I skipped some skills or exercises. Let me know what I skipped and I'll actually answer in the comments. So yeah, I will literally answer in the comments the things that you guys want me to talk about. So what tire I would put, some different exercises in calisthenics. So let's continue this literally in the comments. Why not?